Awesome. Oh man, I gotta say, first off, right off the bat here, to everyone that's out there in the chat, thank you so much for waiting 20 minutes for me to get here on the live stream. I've obviously had technical issues trying to get my computer hooked up. I've been seeing Marcel out there in the chat this entire time, so he knows what happens when I get get my video stream set up going. Sometimes it doesn't always want to cooperate with me. But the capture card is talking to the camera's talking to that or whatever. We're hooked up, we're ready to go. I'm going to start by playing a tune here, folks, and then we're going to talk about some mindfulness. So, good to see you all out there. Thank you so much for joining me, and here we go. Oh man, that's great. Let me scroll down to the chat here, see what's going on. Yeah, Marcel, I did it, buddy. I totally did it, buddy. Yeah. Oh, tech is hard. Man, this feels great though. It's so great to see all you folks out there, and I'm really glad that you decided to join me for tonight. I see that Loco Joe's out there, and I got to point out this comment immediately. I've honestly no idea what to expect from this stream. It's the curiosity that's keeping me here right now. And guess what, Joe? Me neither, buddy. I have no idea what to expect from this stream, but hopefully we can all kind of grow together on these streams. I plan on doing this every week and kind of talking about some mindfulness techniques and practices that I've discovered or used. And hopefully you folks, will get something out of it, and we can have a good discussion surrounding all of this. So, before we get anywhere or go anywhere tonight, hey folks, I'm Hayes Griffin. Thanks so much for joining me here. Online educator. A lot of you out there, I see some really familiar faces and names. Predominantly a guitar instructor and mandolin player here in Columbus, Ohio. Been collaborating a lot with Mandolin Secrets and doing some video instruction there, and also just released a video with Marcel today, or he released a video rather of us. Nice. I'm glad you didn't have to send out the search party, bro. Yeah, I should have shot up a flare. That was my bad, but you know the deal. Tech, right? When you're in the minute or in the moment, right, dealing with it, you got to deal with it. So tonight, this is not that big of a deal tonight. I just wanted to kind of do a bit of a soft launch for what I'm going to call the Mindful Music Maker live streams every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Would love to see you folks here. And like I say, we'll talk about some mindfulness stuff, maybe do a quick meditation. I'll play a little bit of music if that's, good by everyone. And hopefully we'll all have a good time. So I want to hear real quick, can I get like either a yes or a Y in the chat? Who here thinks that they practice mindfulness or that they have at least engaged with the topic of mindfulness? I want to see if it's mostly noobs or like people who are just curious about it. So give me a yes if you practice mindfulness. I'm not seeing a lot of yeses come through yet. Yeah, Nestor. That doesn't surprise me that Nestor practices mindfulness because he's told me that before. Mark, yes. Karen does not. Karen is a no. Yeah, I love it. Joe says we're really wreaking havoc on his sleep schedule, but he does not practice mindfulness. Hey, man, maybe this can help you, ignore us in the future and not wreak havoc on your on your sleep schedule. I'm sorry about that. You're in Germany, though, I think, right, man? So that's, yeah, thanks for joining us. Well, cool. It looks like we're about like half and half with the people that want to respond. So then I will go, that kind of tells me which way to go next. So for those of you that don't practice mindfulness, there's a definition, that I like to use. It's literally the dictionary definition of this. Mindfulness, a mental state achieved by focusing one's awareness on the present moment. You could almost stop there, but it goes on to say, while calmly acknowledging and accepting one's feelings, thoughts, and bodily sensations. So I think that's great because the definition of mindfulness almost tells us in that moment right there how we're going to practice this, right? So it says a mental state achieved by focusing one's awareness on the present moment. So there's the action of practice, focusing your awareness on something in the moment. And then also while observing these other things in the body, like, the tension in your right shoulder or any of that kind of stuff. So that's a simple definition, right? But how do we actually do this? What's the kind of, practice regimen for this? So a lot of folks, the kind of first thing that we talk about, and this is the only one I'm actually going to talk about today. The first mindfulness practice that we usually talk about is meditation. And I know that that's a bit of a loaded word, especially this day and age. There are a lot of things that I think are disguised as meditation out there that are kind of just more like small mindfulness exercises. But the art of meditation or the practice of meditation is exactly what the definition of mindfulness says. You sit in kind of a relaxed yet alert, aware posture. The practices that I use involve your eyes open, so you're actually observing what's in your environment, and then you simply focus on the breath. And what I do every day is like a couple rounds of maybe 15 minutes of just doing that, sitting in, what the Buddhists, I guess, would call like shamatha meditation, what, more or less secular people would call like mindfulness meditation, oddly enough, right? So that's what we're actually going to do here tonight. We're going to learn the basics of meditation, and hopefully you folks will not be like rolling your eyes at me on this one, and we'll actually, kind of get something out of this. Now, before we even do this, meditation is just like everything related to your music practice. So I know we've got some great musicians and some folks that have been doing it a long time out here. Lord Bethke, Karen, Lewis, Joe, like all of you guys, I know that you folks are musicians, like full time or like at least it's a huge part of your lives. So you've sat down and you've practiced, right? You've actually sought a musical kind of setting where the purpose was to get better at playing a piece of music, right? And it wasn't always the most exciting thing. and you didn't always see immediate results, right? So that's the thing that I kind of want to remind everyone here tonight. I really hope that some of you will stick with me. I hope that I see the same names, a year from now on this stream, because if you stick with me and do this once a week, like we're just going to do a 3-minute meditation a day. But if you do that, you'd be surprised at the kind of like mental clarity that you can achieve over time and be able to kind of grasp this superpower of like immediate, instantaneous, hyper focus on whatever you're doing at any point in time, which for me as a mandolin player and guitar player, that's absolutely important. That's why I do this every day now, because I've seen the results. So our practice tool, meditation. Let's talk about that first. I'm kind of approaching this, like I said, from the shamatha, Buddhist kind of tradition, but this is something that like almost any mindfulness practitioner would kind of tell you, right? So the first thing that we need to do is find that alert, relaxed position. A lot of times they'll have you sit on the floor cross-legged, right? Or kind of in lotus position where your heels are kind of tucked in. Right now I'm on a stool, and I think if you're on a chair, that's perfectly fine. You can do sitting meditation as well. Just make sure that if you are going to do this with me right now, scoot to the edge of your chair so that your back isn't in the chair and you're not slumping down, all right? So we want to sit at the edge of our chair, put our feet firmly on the ground, kind of at a relaxed position, 90-degree angle in the knees if possible, and then put a curve into your lumbar. Kind of mess with that, like your lower back. Try and like put a hyper curve in it, and then let it go the other way, and then find the middle. And the easiest way to kind of find the proper spinal alignment is a lot of teachers that I've had over the years say, imagine there's a string at the crest of the very back of your head lightly tugging toward the ceiling. Because what that does is it straightens your neck, right? The back of your neck. It throws your shoulders back into a relaxed position, and it adds that lumbar support to the lower back. So get that string in the top of your head and kind of gently lift toward the ceiling. You can see that I'm in like a proud position. My shoulders are relatively even. So that's the first thing we want to do. Then your hands, I like to just rest them open palms on my knees. The Buddhists, or at least the Karma Kagyu ones, like to put their thumbs into this like paw shape and set them on their knees. So whatever works for you. So now what we're going to do, we're actually at the point of meditation. You found your relaxed posture, and now it's time to just find your anchor. Most people focus on the breath because it's a regular repeating thing inside of our body. It keeps us connected to our body so we can feel, any tension or anything that may pop up. But some people that doesn't work. So you can choose a sound that's happening in your environment, or anything like that. Whatever maybe you have like a particularly tense part of your body. Say like me, my right shoulder is really bad. You can use that as your anchor. Just focus on the tension in there. So what we're going to do, I'm going to set a timer here right now, and we are going to do 3 minutes of a sitting meditation here. And all you need to do is focus on that cycle of the breath. There are 2 things you need to keep in mind though. Your mind will wander. You're going to start to focus on whatever you're doing next after the stream, or how much of an idiot I am, or whatever's bugging you today, or whatever. Whenever that happens, just immediately try to bring your mind back to your anchor, whatever that happens to be. And don't judge yourself, don't punish yourself or anything like that for it. We're just kind of slipping in and out of modes of consciousness here. So 3 minutes, focus on the breath. Don't get too judgy with your wandering mind, because it's going to wander. And let's do this together, all right? I'm going to be focusing on my breath and have kind of a relaxed gaze downward. So let's do it. 3 minutes starting now. And there you have it, folks. For some of you, maybe your first meditation. So, would love to hear from you in the chat box. I always kind of try to rate my experience whenever I do a short meditation like that. Not so much to judge, myself for having not done the meditation right or anything like that, but just to check in and things that can be measured can be improved, right? That's one thing that I like to kind of tell myself in my own musical practice and things like that. So I think it's true for meditation. So with all that being said, on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being, terrible and 10 being awesome, how would you rate for your mindfulness in that meditation session right there? Were you able to keep yourself focused on your anchor, if that was your breath or anything like that? Or was it terrible and were thoughts clouding your mind and you couldn't focus on anything? There were beeping sounds all around, your dog was barking, etc. So 1 being terrible, 10 being awesome. Rate yourself on 1 to 10. How would you say you did? I'll monitor the chat and noodle on my mandolin a little bit because I'm going to show you all some stuff on that in a sec anyways. I like it, by the way. Lori says that her watch tries to make her do meditation and mindfulness. Mine is also the same way. Sweet. So Lori's got a 2, Lewis is a 5, Nestor's 7.28. I like that. Karen's 6. That's awesome. Marcel's a 5. Brent's a 2. Okay. Sweet. So we've got some folks that felt... I liked seeing those numbers in the middle of the pack because that means you're not being too hard on yourself and you were probably able to do it for that short amount of time. The one thing I noticed real big was that as I extended the time of my meditation, my rating went down. So when you start to do maybe a 15-minute meditation or a half hour, every Sunday my wife and I sit for 1 hour and do a meditation. That's awful. Nice. Travis says neighbors mowing the lawn. And I tell you what, man, I'm one of those people. I think just because I've trained myself as a musician, like you when you hear sound, you get tuned into it, right? Because you like sound. You're like, you've trained your body to do that. So every time I hear a noise in my meditation, I always get disturbed, whether it's my cats or the neighbor mowing the lawn or any of that. So that's funny. So ways to improve your mindfulness score. Method number 1, do this every day. Just simply doing it more will improve. You know what I mean? It's just like a scale, right? The first time I tried to play that G major scale, it was probably way worse than that. But guess what? I did it every day for a little bit, and slowly over time it improved. And that's the thing I want to keep reiterating with mindfulness. If you feel like you struggle with your practice time or not making any progress or anything like that, I would say instead of trying to practice your instrument more, devote 5 minutes of your practice regime every day to a mindfulness exercise, whether that's meditation or what I would call a music meditation. And I'm going to show you some of those. We're going to do this every week. So if you find yourself not being able to focus on your music, your practice time is going terrible, you're not seeing progress, don't increase practice time. Add mindfulness practice time to your practice regime. This is just like everything else that we play, training your mind to be able to focus on something intently for as long as you want it. Think about it this way, that directly combats everything that we ingest in our digital lives right now, whether you're on Facebook, Instagram, or here on YouTube, right? The format of these kind of methods of communication over time deteriorates your attention span. This has been measured by multiple people in the field of psychology and neuroscience and things like that. So I think seeing this as kind of like a counterbalance to some of the things that we ingest is a really good way to kind of make sure that we still maintain control of our minds, that we have access to our mental faculties for longer periods of time and for longer in our lives. So I think there's, a ton of benefits that can come from meditating, just what we did for 3 to 5 minutes at the beginning of a practice session. And the thing, we'll go back to that definition of meditation, or excuse me, mindfulness, where it says, a mental state achieved by focusing one's awareness in the present moment while calmly acknowledging and accepting one's feelings, thoughts, and bodily sensations. Calmly accepting the feelings, thoughts, and bodily sensations. So that's like, I think, a really key element to improving your mindfulness. If you know you're pissed off, or that you're sad, or that you're frustrated, or that you're pressed for time, or any of these feelings, and you let that float into the background, and you try to just like solely focus on the breath or anything, it allows us to act with more clarity in the moments, I think, when we do feel those kind of hyper emotional states coming on. You know what I mean? If you're a person that is quick to anger, or quick to be distracted, or quick to, to do anything emotionally, I think mindfulness could help you out, because guess what, folks? I was that guy. I used to be the quickest temper that I knew, you know what I mean? And these mindfulness practices, I think, directly influence my ability to just kind of take a breath, feel my body, feel the tension creeping into my shoulder, and then just kind of let it go and remain in the moment to make a clear decision about how to respond to whatever was making me angry. So if scales make you angry or anything like that, let's talk about some music meditations that you can do. I assume that a lot of you out there are string players, guitar, mandolin, whatever. If you're guitar, mandolin, banjo, fiddle, any of those kind of things, I know that you've got a G note on your instrument. So one thing that I like to do, this is what I call a music meditation, right? One thing that I really like to do is to just set a metronome on, and then play some kind of rhythmic subdivision, regular rhythmic subdivision with that metronome, in order to with the purpose of, rather, to feel my body's connection with the instrument. So the instrument and us playing on the instrument now becomes the anchor instead of the breath. And I think that that's really important. If you're a person like me who experiences a lot of tension when they try to play fast or anything like that, this practice is for you. I love it. Marcel says, can't even imagine Hayes angry. Yeah, dude, it used to happen. We're talking like 15 years ago, 20 years ago. It used to happen, but I try to be smooth sailing, buddy. So if you've got an instrument handy, and you want to do this, I know we already practiced some meditation, but let's practice like a short mindfulness exercise with our instruments. So grab your guitar, mandolin, whatever it is, and find a G note on it. Even if you don't have an instrument with a G note on it, I'm sure you know how to find one. So I'm going to get this metronome going, and I'm just going to play quarter notes with it. Let me turn that down a touch. So start playing quarter notes with me, just downstrokes. Like I said, something simple, something regular. And now find that good posture again that we were talking about a minute ago. And I want you to feel the pick move through the string. Do you notice it in your thumb? Your right wrist? Do you notice it in your belly? How strong is your pick stroke? Just feel that pick going through the string. And try and associate it with some sort of sensation in your body. Now notice, as you're picking, in the middle of this exercise, I like to do what's called a body scan. So start at the top of your head and pretend like, the Star Trek deatomizer or whatever is coming down your body and your focus is changing to each kind of section of your body. And do you notice any tension? There's definitely some on my shoulders. If you notice a spot with some tension, can you focus on that? Continue to play the note with the quarter note and kind of breathe into that tension. Get rid of it. So that's honestly something, folks, that I'll do for like 10 minutes. And if you've got a partner living in your house, what I would suggest is don't do this all the time, or maybe do it when they're gone, because it's really boring, and I feel so sorry for my wife that she has to live with me when I practice these things. But what we're doing is training that focus and that mindfulness and awareness that we're talking about from meditation, but in a musical sense now. And this can be used different ways. We could focus on the pick and the thumb and that feeling, or we can focus on our shoulders and how they feel as a result of the pick going through the strings. The point of this is to kind of do what Ellen Langer, there's this really great book called The Power of Mindful Learning. This is what Ellen calls sideways learning. Some people hear about like top-down or bottom-up learning methods. I'm doing a top-down learning method right now. I'm lecturing to you, right? So that's like one method of learning. This sideways, involves more experimentation and more disruption of the ordinary. So whatever's rote in your life and whatever's ordinary can become a weakness and a spot where tension can creep into your body, where you can allow your thoughts to run wild and to consume your focus. So I would highly recommend actually anyone on this stream look at this book, The Power of Mindful Learning by Ellen Langer. It's one of the best that I've read on mindfulness, and she's really kind of like leading a movement for like academic study of mindfulness. So I would definitely say, this sideways learning approach where we simply just try to tap into the body and how it likes to interact with the instrument while you're playing it. I think that's an amazing way to kind of get started in this mindfulness practice. So just to recap here today in the short half hour, I'm about to wrap things up. The short half hour, we've got 2 mindfulness practices that we can now do, right? We've got meditation, which is a long storied tradition used by multiple religions and practitioners of different philosophies around the world. So there's a wide breadth of material available to practice that. Meditation. And then 2, this kind of sideways learning process, which I kind of like to think about is like simple daily exercises that challenge the ordinary. And I think with those 2 kind of approaches, or utilizing even one of them, just experimenting with it, can really help benefit things in the practice room for you. Because I noticed that when I got stagnant with speed and like technical practice, really honing in and adding 5 to 10 minutes of mindfulness exercises to my musical practice every day really helped me break through and hit that next plateau, in my playing. Yeah. Oh, awesome. Jacob saying, wow, first time I've heard of mindfulness in a lesson, but this is huge. Glad to hear that, Jacob. And hopefully this has been a little, revealing for some of the rest of you out there. I know that I've gotten a lot out of my kind of exploration of this mindfulness practice and kind of incorporating things into my daily life. But like I said at the beginning of the stream, I'm by no means an expert here. I consult with a Buddhist Lama regularly, as well as other mindfulness practitioners, more for like the secular kind of study of the benefits of mindfulness and meditation as it relates to my craft. And I think it can really benefit anyone. So, like I said, Power of Mindful Learning, definitely check that book out. If you're interested and you have a lot of like bodily tension, or you notice things like that creeping into your playing, Body Learning by Michael J. Gelb is a really great book too that I would recommend. He kind of gets into what's called the Alexander technique, which is another mindfulness practice, I believe started by an Australian actor who was having problems with his like bodily tension kind of creating, causing him to freeze up on stage and things like that. So lots of great mindfulness practices and things like that you can delve into as a result of reading these 2 books. So definitely check those out if you're interested. And mark your calendars. Next week at 7 p.m. 7 p.m. sharp this time, because I've got my tech set up. 7 p.m. sharp, we're going to do another one of these kind of sessions. And next week, we're really just going to talk about how to build the habit of mindfulness practices into your practice sessions every day. Because I know that habit forming can be really hard for us, especially as busy employed people and stuff. Let me check the questions, the chat here before we get out of here, just to make sure I'm not missing anything. Marcel, he says, you ever do these before gigs? Absolutely, dude. I would honestly say gigs are like where I mostly do these things, these days at least, because that's where, you know, it's one thing to sit in a comfortable environment like your studio that you're really used to and play music and make progress, you know, because you don't have a lot of external factors that could be affecting you. So like at the gig, you're presented with a whole other set of phenomena that can challenge your ability to focus, right? So absolutely I do them at gigs. People think I'm weird. I don't care. I play better as a result always. You know, I go sit in a corner, and it really only takes, like, I like to do it for 10 to 15 minutes. That's really as much as I can handle at any given point in time and still have a high number, you know, like we talked about earlier. If I do a 30 or a 60-minute meditation, it's usually, you know, more of a challenge. But 10 to 15 minutes before a gig, right? Like, I mean, we all noodle on scales and tunes for 10 to 15 minutes, so why can't you do this too? And I promise you that if you do it 10 minutes before a gig and you build the habit of doing that at every gig, you're going to see the results to this. You know, I feel like I'm like, you know, Billy Mays or some kind of like TV infomercial person trying to like sell you on mindfulness. I don't need to sell you on it because I know the benefits of it. And if you just do it, you're going to be a better musician. I promise you. Lewis says, I always try to stay in the moment while performing. It seems to keep strokes to a minimum. Absolutely, dude. And finding that anchor, you know, as you're playing can be good too. Like, if I always notice that if I just kind of focus on the feeling of like my muscles inside of my hands while I'm playing, you know, that's enough to kind of draw me back into the moment. Nice. All right, gang. Well, I'm okay, I'm gonna leave after reading this one comment. Jacob says, "Sorry, Marcel Hayes is my new guru." Oh man, that's hilarious. I'm gonna let Marcel deal with that one. That's hilarious. All right, Marcel, Jacob, Lewis, Joe, Kurt, Brent, Karen, Nestor, Lori. It's been so great to see you folks. Lewis, can't forget Lewis out there. Thanks so much for joining me on this first stream. I know it's probably a little all over the place and random, but hey, you're catching the first one. And like I said, I hope to see you folks with me, 52 weeks from now, and that we can all brag about how like mindful and in the flow we are and all that kind of stuff. So thanks so much for tuning in. Email me if you have any questions. Hayes@mandolinsecrets.com is a great way to get in touch with me. And you can feel free to subscribe to the channel and check out my other work too with Mandolin Secrets Guitar Club or Mandolin Secrets Academy. All right, folks. Thanks so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you being here, and we'll catch you on the flip side, all right?